get started. We're just so social. Welcome. I'd like to welcome everybody to our night meeting, and thank y'all for carving out this time to come and meet. And we're going to have a great demo. Looking forward to that with David. I'll let Martha further introduce David.
Aren't you the smart one?
Okay. How many of you got the newsletter and email yesterday or today at some point? Good. Okay, so everybody's getting those. Wonderful. It's so full and so wonderful. And one thing we want to be sure to let you know about is if you have news to include in the newsletter, now is the time to start sending that in. We are going to start having hard deadlines, and we haven't worked out exactly what that is, but obviously we just sent one out. So, but if you have news of shows or classes, anything like that needs to be included, any kind of news that you want included in the newsletter, you need to send those to our newsletter team, and that email was linked in the email with the last newsletter. So be sure, do you get that, Lisa? If it goes to that address, you get those, right?
I don't know how to access that address, actually.
Oh, it's not forwarding to you? Okay.
I have to wait for Janet to get it to me.
Okay, now that needs to be coming to you. Okay, send me the email address that you want people to send things to you at, and I will forward that
Okay.
through the club email address. Okay. So, yeah, we need to be sending that both to the newsletter email and to Lisa's email, Lisa Pruitt. She is the one who so graciously donates her lots and lots of time to accumulating all that information and laying it out for us. So, and Janet Sanders does too. She curates kind of what comes in. And so anyway, that's that. And I'm going to let Delana Lane tell us how many members we have now.
We have 133, plus we've got, I just got information about some checks that have just arrived, and so we probably got 136.
Okay, so 136 paid members. Y'all, that's really good. So excited. Yes. It's because y'all are so awesome. People just want to be a part. We do have a great art community and just so supportive, so supportive. So really thank all of you for that. Charlotte, where's Charlotte? Right here. Come to our treasurer's report. I'm sorry. Yes. Let me turn this away so we never go.
This is brief. Our beginning balance was $14,015.35, and we added a net profit of $1,795.79, and our book balance is $15,811.14.
That was brief. Oh, and I want to say, this is something that we've known about for a little while, but the board has been kind of processing this. We received a gift from Janet Tillery's estate of some of her artwork. And so we are so excited and thankful to have that. And we will be, hopefully, this is all kind of still in process, but we hope to have some of those, if not all of them, for sale at our spring show. So we will have those in a tent, specifically for that, and all the proceeds go to our association. So she wanted that gift of her art to be a benefit to us. So very sweet, very sweet. We appreciate that.
What booth does that go in?
Pardon?
What booth does that go in?
It'll have its own booth. Yeah. And it may be connected to the hospitality booth. We haven't quite worked that out yet. So logistically, the Beverleys are still working on that. So okay, and then let's see. Okay, show report. Show chairs.
Okay, I don't have much to say, other than the booth and tent assignments. Booth and tent assignments are going out early next week. And, we've got the posters and the yard signs back there. Janet's holding one up. And, she's gonna help us, distribute them today. If y'all have a really high traffic area where you know it won't get picked up and thrown away, then have a little sheet you can sign, and you can take it and put it, you can take, I don't know how many we want each one person to take, at least a couple. But I know Janet's got a list.
The posters or the yard signs?
Really either.
Oh, you gotta be really particular when you go.
Yeah,
So,
they-
and a lot of people have already done it before, so we kind of depend on those.
yeah.
Because, if you put it on public property, city people will,
Come pick it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to go, and we've got a lot of people who have done it before.
Yeah.
And they do know where the best locations are, and it has to be private property, so the trash people won't pick it up and throw it away.
Put one on the back of your car.
Hmm?
Put one on the back of your car.
That's a good
We
idea.
don't have an address.
That is a good
Maybe I'll have a
idea.
copy of one made,
We
make
need
a
some of
big
those great big
decal.
magnets.
But other than that, just come back in the back if you want to put out a yard sign, or if you want to take posters around, take posters. We do have a couple more volunteer spots left, and they're on show day, so we need a couple of people who aren't doing the show that are willing to, I think one of them is greeting, and it alternates with, something else.
Maybe, it's maybe,
I don't have the sheet,
I'm
so,
not sure.
but
Floral
see
tents.
Beverly, and we've got the sheet, we can tell you exactly where you're needed. But we just need 2 people, we just had someone sign up for the volunteer painting tent, floral painting tent. We had a hole in that space, so we're all set, and, you'll be getting your assignments next week, early next week.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, yeah, this is just not gonna happen. We do thank so much, Bev and Beverly for, y'all cannot imagine how much work goes into planning a show. And they are doing a fabulous job, so, and thank you all of you who have volunteered. It's just, we have just
Yes.
an amazing group of people, so, yes, y'all are it. And I would like now to have the, and I don't have the, Delana, did I give you the little piece of paper back?
Oh, maybe that's.
Did you pick it up, Charlotte? We have new members and we want you to introduce yourselves, but Okay, so, is Callie Boardman here?
Yes.
Yay, stand up. This is the hard part. Stand up, introduce yourself, and tell us what mediums you work in and any other kind of thing you want us to know about you.
I'm Callie Boardman. I'm a painter. So I have a studio at Forest Art Center. Yeah, I just.
What kind of things do you like to paint?
Everything, I guess, landscape, abstract, figures.
Okay. So
Yeah,
just
my
a
work
little-
is, yeah.
A little bit of everything.
What medium?
Actually like oil and then acrylic, but, actually aqua oil, a water-based oil has been kind of my new thing because it's less toxic, but, what
Okay.
else do I say?
That's good.
Okay, nice to meet everybody.
That's the pertinent
And
information.
my website, CallieBoardman.com.
So go check it out. Okay, Erin Horton.
That's me.
Hi.
Hi, Erin.
I'm an oil painter mainly. I do a little bit of watercolor too, but mostly oil painting. And I work a lot on commission. But I do have a show coming up at the Gaston Museum of Art in February 2025. That's going to be completely different stuff than my commission work.
Awesome. Good, we're glad to have you. And then Frances Hand.
I'm Frances Hand. I started with photography and I went a little bit into watercolor and acrylic. I like to do lifestyle, fashion, and abstract.
Fun. We're glad to have you. Very glad to have you. And then Pam Benoit. Pamela. Are you Pamela or Pam?
Only my mother calls me Pamela.
Okay.
She's mad. I'm Pam Benoit, and I do
Benoit. Okay.
Benoit, yeah.
So
Like Detroit.
Sorry.
Yeah, Benoit in France. I actually like it better, but I do watercolors, acrylics, water-based oils. I like to paint florals, landscapes, abstracts. I'm recently retired, so now I'm really able to spend more time with my art, which is fabulous.
We're so happy to have you. She's another graphite artist, so we kind of,
Oh yeah, that too.
yeah. She does, if you can find her on Instagram, it's Pam Benoit, is it an underscore?
Pam Benoit.
Pam underscore Benoit, so she has a lot of her graphite drawings there.
It's already in the directory, I can put it online.
I haven't yet.
Oh.
The new directory will have her stuff in it, so, yeah. Yeah, it's been quite a week. Anyway, moving on. Is there anybody else that's new that, these are all people that we've gotten the new member form off the internet. So, yes.
New member that might have gotten this.
She's calling me out.
Okay.
I've actually been a member for about
Oh,
a
guys,
year.
stand up.
I've never been to a meeting. This is my
Oh, okay.
first.
Well, stand up and tell us about
I'm
you.
Britt Macon. I do.
Yeah, I know your name.
Yes. Nice to meet you guys. I basically do abstract expressionism, oils, and some acrylics, just depending on how fast I learn.
Okay.
So.
If you didn't catch that, her name is Britt Macon.
Yes, Britt Macon.
And you're on Instagram too, right?
Yes, that's
Yep. So, awesome. Anybody else that is new that I have missed? No. Okay. Well, I think we are ready for our demo. I'll let Martha come and introduce David.
I have a little thing to tell about right before that, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
So
Next meeting.
I took this to the meeting and showed, I have little Mount Brook Art Association stickers. And we have magnets that can go in your car or wherever.
Can y'all hear Martha?
Can you hear me back there? Okay, we've got magnets and we've got stickers. This is the 3-inch sticker, which I have some of those. I have some of the 3-inch
New logo.
magnets, and then, but several requested a 4-inch. So I've ordered those and those haven't come yet, but I'm taking orders back there if anyone would be interested in either both or whatever.
And you take Venmo and
Venmo, PayPal, check, cash, whatever.
There's a
It's
sign-up
all-
sheet
It's all on the sign-in sheet, right?
on
here.
the table back there,
Right.
Delana.
That's the little one. This is the size of the 4-inch right there.
Aren't those cool?
Those are
So
nice.
you can put one on your car or
Yeah,
on
they've
your
been in my car a week and they haven't
laptop,
fallen off.
phone, on your tablet, whatever.
Yeah, so if anybody wants, I'm just, for my cost, I'm doing it, for whoever wants them. So I'm gonna put this back here. Yeah. So many of you know David already, and many have taken probably from him, or at least familiar with him. I've known him for a good long while, and I know Beth's taken from maybe a few others. Okay, so we're very excited to have you here, and I've got a few things. I'm just going to read it because I don't do well with remembering all these little. So I'm going to read it, but he has been a professional artist for many years. He continues to find ways to express his vision on canvas. His current work is primarily contemporary landscapes, we brought a lot of those, and some abstracted images. His paintings are produced with interpretive passages that are both familiar and thought-provoking. Painting is an intuitive process for me, applying layers of paint to express my thoughts until the work feels right. My vision for the work is more about how shapes and colors work together to create an image, whether it be representational or abstract. And I'm tend to lean toward loving these that are abstracted landscapes, I guess. But I love all of his work, so I'm really excited. David has an industrial engineering degree from Auburn University, as well as an MBA from Stanford University. He had his own art publishing firm for 17 years, where he represented over 150 artists, selling their work to the trade worldwide. He is represented in several galleries in the Southeast. And David, you have a class, or is it full coming up?
There's a workshop, a one-day workshop, Saturday, April the 20th, at Forrestal Art Center. I don't know if it's
You don't know if it's full. You can just call to see if it's
Yeah.
full. Is it? Okay.
I found out today.
Okay.
Well, get on the wait list, because there's.
Or maybe not, maybe not. Put your
Because
name down.
generally speaking, that they might have 12 people signed up. Invariably, something will come up and somebody can't come that day, so get on the wait list.
Maybe if there's enough, maybe you'll do another one.
Well, I'll try to do one every quarter, so.
Well, we're so glad to have you. Let's welcome David.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I'm a little bit confused about what to say, because it's not really, I'm not trying to teach you anything, but yet I want to try to explain my process. And the workshop that I do at Forrestal is certainly about teaching and a lot of more nuance than what we'll talk about tonight. But the process that I use to paint is basically to visualize what's important in a landscape, if that's what you're painting, especially if it's a plein air landscape where you're inundated with so much information in front of you, it can be overwhelming. And so many of you, especially new painters, will probably paint mostly from photographs. And that is a good way to start and to learn. But again, it's overwhelming as to what's in the photograph and how you're going to be able to convey what you want to convey in your painting from what you're looking at. It can be very confusing. So the process that I use is to simplify the image as much as you can in your mind before you ever start. And the way to do that is to visualize the darks, the midtones, and the light values that are in front of you. And not think about color at the moment, but just think about the value pattern and how you're going to distribute the values that are in front of you across the canvas. And what I always do, if I'm confused or not sure about it, is just do a little 3" by 3" or 2" by 2" sketch of your subject. And this would be great if you're a plein air painter, because just look out there and see where the dark values are and see where the light values are. And take 5 minutes or less and do this, and you will have a roadmap for your painting. If you don't do this and you just start throwing paint around, you can get frustrated very quickly. If your goal is craftsmanship and that's your only goal, you ought to take up music. Because it takes years and years and years to fine-tune craftsmanship if you're trying to depict a scene as if it were a photograph. That's not what this art is about anyway. It's about getting your thoughts, your experiences, your likes, your dislikes, all on canvas. And that is what the ultimate goal is, and that's where you're going to get the ultimate pleasure out of being an artist. So, I just did this little small sketch, and this will give me a roadmap for where I want to go. So I usually start with dark values, and then proceed from there. If you're watercolors, you're gonna probably start with the lightest values and work toward dark. If you're an oil or acrylic painter, it ought to be the other way around. You can always cover up what you've done. If you're in oil and acrylics, you can't do that very well with watercolors, which I learned after 20 years. It's a, you know, I introduced myself to oils after 20 years of watercolor, and I said, what the? This is crazy. This is way easier to do. So, anyway, let's get going here. This is a birch panel that I made. I like to make my own hard surface. I sometimes use masonite or wood, and then just put the stretcher bars around and create a surface to paint on. Hard surfaces will allow your paint to be a little more vibrant because the oils are not going to absorb into this like it will on a canvas. So I really like painting on this, and I use a lot of palette knives, so it's easy to scratch into it. You can do all that with a canvas. It just doesn't quite have the vibrancy that a hard surface will. Although I do both. This is canvas, and this is a board, and this is canvas. So I do both, but it just takes the medium differently. Any questions, holler out, because I have no problem listening while I or talking.
How do you prepare your surface?
Okay, this is, I put a coat of primer on first.
Do you sand the birch?
I sand it,
Okay.
then I put primer on it. An acrylic primer like from Benjamin Moore or somewhere like that. And then it's got 2 coats of gesso with sanding in between.
Okay.
So that's where we are. And what you'll end up with is areas where the gesso has got brush marks. And when you paint, you will see that those brush marks become visible. If you don't like that, then sand it a lot more, make it smoother. But I actually like the texture that creates.
Y'all can feel free to get up and move around.
Yeah, you can feel free to move around. If you can't see very well and you want to move around, please do.
Absolutely allowed. Just don't sit right in front of somebody else. But if you want to come down and, squat down on the floor right close, you can. Whatever.
What colors are you using? How do you start out with that? Or what are you mixing now?
Yeah, I've got raw umber, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, cad yellow light, and sap green and white. I noticed when I was coming over here how green everything's starting to get, which is really exciting after a long, dark winter. So I'm gonna try to create a little bit of a spring landscape.
Are you just working from your thumbnail, or do you have a reference?
Yeah, this just gives me a guideline to go by. And once I get it blocked in, then I just kind of take liberties and create what I want to.
Dave, are you using any medium with your paint?
I'm not.
Okay.
There's no medium here. Somebody will ask me, why didn't you tone the canvas? And the answer is, I like to kind of do that as I go rather than to begin with. Because I will be doing some wiping down with paper towels or rags of some kind, as we go, spread some paint around and get some soft edges that way. Not a surface to cover quickly. Couldn't ever decide what size to do. I wanted to get something big enough you could see, but the bigger you get, the longer it takes to do.
That's right.
So, I'll get as far as I can with it.
That sounds good.
Do you still have work down at Art Alley?
I do. Yeah, they have quite a few art, pieces of art down there in Homewood.
David, is this in your mind, or you got a photograph, or are you thinking of a scene, or are you just?
This is
going-
my photograph.
Oh, okay.
I don't paint from photographs. I find them to be so restrictive. If I'm doing a commission and somebody wants a painting of their grandfather's farm, of course I'm gonna work off the photographs, and it needs to look like that. But it's just to create a painting.
That's what I wonder if it just came up.
It's just all intuitive, and so no, I don't use photographs. I might be inspired by one, and by the way, if you are, if you do paint from photographs, then take that photograph and create a sketch, a small sketch, and let that be your inspiration, not the photograph. And then put the photograph away. Now, you can want to come back to it and fine tune it at the end, that's fine. But don't just be married to it, because that's just a rote operation that is not intuitive. It's all about creating something rather than copying something. Leave that to the copiers. You can be as colorful. Color is a matter of choice, and a photograph is going to restrict your thinking about color, because it's going to say, this tree needs to be this color, this grass needs to be this color, this sky needs to be this color. You don't want that. Be creative with it. Let the values come forth, because values is what describes what you're looking at. Total, 100%. That's why you can look at a black and white photograph and tell exactly what it is. It's the values that are on that sheet. It's all about the value. So, color is a matter of choice. You can paint any subject, any color.
Now, what are you thinning that with?
This is mineral spirits,
Okay.
Gamsol, which is the best, least toxic of the mineral spirits.
So what colors do you have on there so far? Or are they mixed?
They're mixed. There's some olive green in here, some sap green, some yellow ochre, some turquoise, and some ultramarine blue.
So in terms of color, is this a standard palette that you use for all your paintings, or does it vary by painting? I notice a lot of the same colors that the ones we're seeing.
The fewer colors you use to describe your subject, the more color harmony you're going to have, because there's no fighting within the color range that you're using. My basic palette is raw umber, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and a little bit of burnt sienna. I use that on just about every painting. Then I can add a little ancillary colors here and there to punch it up. But sometimes I just use those colors and nothing else. And it makes for a very serene, calm, peaceful type of landscape, or anything, floral or whatever. And it helps that a lot of today's fabrics have been over the last 10 years, a lot of gray-green kind of a tone, and these colors will lend itself to those, to matching those decor. Not that it needs to match the sofa.
When you're doing value first, on a black and white scale, where are you in your mind right now with the warm versus cool of each color? Are you thinking about that, or? I was curious.
Well, yeah.
Are you intentionally thinking warm, cool, and placing this stuff?
I am doing that. Certainly, you have to think about.
After value?
Well, value is number one, but the other key to realistic painting is perspective. And so you've got atmospheric perspective, which means as things go further in the distance, they become more blue and lighter in color. As they come forward, they become warmer and darker, or at least certainly warmer. So that's the color temperature that you want to think about. Right now, we've just got, like, if you've got these colors up here, this is going to be water down here, so it's going to have some reflection. But ultimately, you definitely want to have warmer colors as they advance.
Not necessarily warmer, but just also darker is more important, right? Yeah.
Well, if it's water, first of all, you've got to remember that where's your light coming from? So, generally speaking, the sky is going to be the lightest light most of the time. I mean, you can have exceptions to that, but if you say that the sky is always going to be the lightest light, the land is going to be the next lightest because it's reflecting light from the sky. And then anything vertical in the landscape, whether it's a barn, a house, trees, what have you, is going to be darker because the light from the sky is not reflecting off of it unless it's like a late afternoon in which you've got that strong sunlight hitting the side of the building. But in general, those three values are going to be prominent in most landscapes. Now, if you have water, water is a reflective surface. So it's going to be reflecting the sky, the colors of the sky and the lightness of the sky. And if you're reflecting in water, dark bays reflect lighter, and light bays reflect darker. So, if you keep those things in mind, you can have a painting that reads correctly to the viewer. Now, you can make exceptions to that, certainly, but if you keep those things in mind, where's the light coming from and what's it doing when it gets there, then you'll have a painting that can be read by the viewer and understand as to what they're looking at. Now, you can take all kind of crazy variations off of that, and then it becomes going from a realistic landscape to more of an abstract landscape. The difference between the two is, in a realistic landscape, things are recognizable as they are, but in an abstract landscape, it's just a suggestion of what you're looking at, not a realistic view of what you're looking at. And you can have elements in that abstract landscape that don't really make sense in a reality standpoint. You could have a dark sky, or things in the sky that wouldn't normally be there, or trees that don't reflect in the water the way you think they should. I mean, it's all these variations off of what's real, but it still is a landscape because of one thing. That's where the horizon comes in. If you've got a horizon line in your painting, it's a landscape. And the viewer then is going to interpret it as a landscape. It may not be realistic, but they're going to say it's an abstract landscape because they've been looking at landscapes all their life, and they know that there's a horizon that they're looking at. So knowing those things will allow you to go from pure abstract to photorealism and all those places in between. You know, impressionism, abstract landscape, you know, expressionism, realistic painting, photorealistic painting. Where are you on that whole spectrum, or where do you want to be? And that's where what you like as an individual can come through in your artwork. Because I hate photorealism. So I'm not going to ever do that. That's all craftsmanship. It's all craftsmanship more than anything else. That's not really expression. Pure abstract, I like it, but it can be somewhat confusing to a lot of people. So you just got to find on that spectrum where it speaks to you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm supposed to be painting here. I knew I'd get into that. This already looks like a landscape, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But really, it's just those things that you recognize because you've been looking at them forever. Not very pretty, at least not yet, but you recognize it for what it is, for those reasons.
I want to share right quick. Our next meeting is a day meeting, and we're going to have a panel of, especially for those of you who haven't done many shows, we're going to have a panel of very experienced show people that have done lots of shows, and we're going to allow them to answer some questions for us about how they set up, how they
choose what to do for the show. What do they charge, and, you know, how do they decide how to price something? So lots of questions like that. So you'll wanna be there for that one if you're interested in doing shows, and that's
April 18th.
April 18th. Okay. At 10. Okay. Back over at City Hall.
Are you partial to a certain brand of paint, David?
I like gambling paints, I like, Grumbarker paints. I probably like those as well as any. Every paint manufacturer will have a little bit different formula on a color. For example, if you like yellow ochre, every brand's gonna be slightly different. A little more yellow in it, a little bit more red in it. So you just have to find one that you like and mix as well with your other colors. Raw lumber is one that will drive you crazy because they are all so totally different. And it's one of my favorite colors to use. So I have found that Grumbacher makes a raw lumber that I really, really like. And so I use it the most. They used to make big tubes of it and they quit doing it. Now you're gonna get these little 37 millimeter tubes, milliliter tubes. I love that sky. I ended up buying a whole bunch of raw lumber. This is their color right here. This is raw lumber. It doesn't have so much red in it. All the other manufacturers seem to have a lot of red in it. And once you start mixing it, everything turns pink.
Yes. Don't get near it with white.
Huh?
Don't get near it with white.
Exactly. This has some red in it,
Yeah.
but not near the amount that the others do.
Do you ever use brushes or always just
Oh,
powder?
yeah, I use brushes all the time.
Okay.
It seems like I can get the paint on here quicker with a palette knife. And I like the feel of it.
Gotcha.
Trying to paint fast to get this to a point where you can recognize it. I don't usually paint quite this fast. But actually, the faster you paint, the less time you have to think. And that's a good thing. Can be a good thing.
Can't run it all over.
Everybody likes thick paint too, you know? Another good thing about palette knives, you can really do a lot of scratching, which I like to do. It's so fun to see how a painting is going to turn out in the end, because it's always a mystery. And usually, you'll make some edits to it, maybe the next day. I'll give you another little tip. You walk in your studio the next morning, don't turn on any lights. Just have the ambient light coming from the windows and look at your painting from a distance, and you'll automatically see those values that you set out to create. It'll be so much more evident than when you got all the lights on. So the first time you look at it in the morning, the day after, will give you a big clue as to what you need to do to alter it, to make it better. So as you go, you will see things that, like this little passage right here, doesn't much look like a cloud. Doesn't look like it really belongs there. So you have to decide, am I going to take it out or leave it in as a point of interest? You're not trying to create a photorealistic painting. You're trying to create something that's interesting to the viewer. Then you can decide if you want. I mean, it just happens as you're painting. You just got to decide these areas that you want to alter or leave as they are.
And what are you gonna do with it?
I'm probably gonna take it out. But it does actually, it's not that simple actually. You have to decide what the subject of the painting is and what you're trying to convey. And if that's taken away from that objective, then you need to take it out. If it's not, if it's just adding interest because you got other things in the painting that also attract attention, that you want to create that abstractness to it, then leave it. So it's not just a black and white decision. It's something to think about in the whole context of the painting. That's where you as the artist come in and decide what you like, what you're trying to say. This is a fun way to paint.
David, what light do you use?
Well, I just discovered a new one. It's a Grumbacher titanium white that's soft, not as stiff as other titanium whites. And so I like it. It mixes well. And I do a lot of mixing, so I do like that a lot. There's another brand called Lucas, which I think is an excellent paint, and it dries a little bit faster. You know, titanium generally is a slow drying paint, so the Lucas is, and it's a little thicker, so if you really like those thick brush strokes, then that's a good paint to use. So those two I like. The rest of them, Gamblin and Rembrandt, the rest of them are pretty much the same.
Maybe you can just kick that out of the way if it's just a.
No, it's okay, yeah. All right, so what we got right now is, there's not enough contrast between the darks and the lights, so it's too much mid-value. So I've got to create a little more interest by having darker passages and lighter passages to go along with all of this mid-value that we have here. That's what I mean by going into the studio in the morning and you can see if you don't have enough of one or the other. Very, very important.
Do you do plein air much?
No. I did it for a while. In fact, I think that's where I met Martha. I just look at the scene in front of me and I'm just so, you know, your mind just wants to create what you're already looking at. And it's just so hard to get away from that. You're just looking at it over and over and over as you paint. And so I got to where that is just not the way I want to paint. So I don't do much plein air. It's fun. It's a lot of fellowship and all that good part of it, for sure. But it's just not how I want to paint. I like to make it up as I go.
Any tips or tricks on clouds?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for us landscape painters.
Well, clouds are moisture in the air. So, as long as you remember that, you know, clouds and trees and bushes and all that, they come in 1,000 or millions of different shapes and values and sizes, so you can't really make a mistake painting any of them. Except, just keep in mind that if a cloud is a body of water in the sky, then if the light is coming from above it, it's gonna be lit on the top. It's gonna be darker on the bottom. It can be any shape. So just keep that in mind and you'll always have realistic skies. And obviously you can have any color in the sky that you want. It doesn't have to even be a sunset. It can just be middle of the day. Just put whatever colors are good in your painting and whatever colors are in the sky will complement that. If you know just a few things about how light works, then you can create a painting that looks reasonably realistic by knowing those things, like I've been talking about. This tree right here can be reflected in the water below. And if you want to reflect that color, you can, and that would be realistic. If you want to use a different color, then use a different color. Like I've used more blues here than the greens in the tree. You still, as the viewer, still realize this is a reflection of the tree, even though it's not a realistic color, but it adds to the beauty of the painting and the interest to the viewer. So use color in many different ways you want to, but pay attention to what the values are, and then they will read correctly to the viewer.
So direct light would be brighter, and then like a reflection, would you use a cooler to reflect that tree in the water?
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
reflection, it's a cooler, right?
Yeah.
For shadows, okay, I was curious.
But the darker the tree, the lighter the reflection. It's not one-to-one. The light values of the tree reflect a little bit darker. The mid values of the tree will reflect the same values in the water.
Right.
If you're out, observing, you'll pick up little things like that, and that will really help you in your painting. One thing I hadn't done tonight is stand back and look at this thing. Because I don't know, it's so close to it. You need to do that. You See how those darker values now make it come alive more?
Is that yellow ochre and white that you kind of put?
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, get some warmer colors in here.
Yeah.
In the foreground. But again, I want to be able to tell the viewer this is water, and how I do that is making like a reflection of some of the clouds. And the viewer says, oh, that must be a little body of water there. Does that look like water?
Yes.
Sometimes you can leave some unpainted areas in your canvas or your substrate, and it looks like there's paint there, but there's nothing there. And sometimes I like to leave that because I think if you walk up here, you'll see all of these lines in here that are the underlying gesso, that a palette knife that goes over that surface will only hit the tops of it. And so you'll still see those lines in there because the palette knife doesn't allow it to get down in there. If I'm using a brush, if I don't like that, then I'm going to use a brush and let it get down in there with the brush. Does that make sense? Yeah.
If you haven't signed in, come sign in on the list, because we've got door prizes in a few minutes.
I don't like the way that looks.
Sure couldn't do that with acrylic.
Huh?
I said, you sure couldn't do that with acrylic.
Well, if you got a hard surface, it's easier to do it. Whether it's oil or acrylic. Of course, acrylic's gonna dry a lot faster.
That's what I'm
And that's why I don't use it, because I like to be able to manipulate the paint throughout the whole process. I don't want to, acrylic is paint on top of paint. And this is more paint mixed with paint. And I just prefer that. And you don't worry about it drying while you're trying to create a passage or two. I like that better. The reason I didn't like that is because I had 3 layers here and they were all the same value, and it just didn't read very well. Now that looks more like layers of distance. Getting there.
How do you know when it's done?
Well, I'll tell you, that's the easiest one of all. when it quits talking to you.
Okay.
There's a dialogue going on between you and the artwork consistently throughout the whole process. Just like I told you why I did that, it told me it needed me to do that. So I did it. And then it'll tell me you need to do this over here, and then you need to do this over here. And when it quits talking to you, then the painting's finished. That's serious, that's not a joke. It's always talking to you. You just gotta listen and do what it says. And that's what makes the art yours. Because anybody else might interpret what it's saying in a different way. But if it's you, then that's you in this artwork, is a dialogue. And then after it's finished, there's also gonna be another dialogue down the road between this painting and the viewer or a prospective buyer. Now they gotta talk. When they decide they love it so much, they wanna talk to it a lot, then they're gonna buy it. Putting a little bit lighter values in the sky, so there's more contrast with the land and the water.
Do you have any sort of formula, or, like, idea of how you price your work? So just, yeah, do you have a general rule that you do, or do you height times width plus $1 million? I don't know, I'm just curious.
That's good if you can get it.
I mean, I do height times width plus 500 because it's just easier to
Well,
standardize. I was curious if you had
You
a
gotta
method.
price it to the market, that's basically the answer to that question. You gotta price it.
Is the market Birmingham or just the world?
No, wherever you're showing your work.
Which could be everywhere, right?
Well, now with the internet, it
Yeah.
can be, yeah, you can get more
So
money.
how would you price that right now? What would you say that was?
This is a $1,200 painting.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and, so, in the market that I'm in, that's what it would go for.
Yeah.
So if I was in Santa Fe, it'd probably be 5 times that much, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's the market out there.
Got
How large is that painting?
How large? This is, 22 by 18,
What sizes do you sell the most?
48 by 48.
How much do you charge?
Well, in Birmingham, they're 3,200. In Atlanta, they're 3,800. And people might argue with, well, they ought to be the same everywhere. I don't believe that. I think they ought to be what the market is.
48 by 40?
48, yeah.
How do you transport it? What's that?
And in my van.
So if you have a gallery in Birmingham, you're putting that at 3,200, and then Atlanta, when you're showing, you put that.
I'm in a showroom in Atlanta, it's an interior design showroom. And the
Okay.
designers come in there and they place artwork with their clients.
Okay.
So and they've got a lot higher priced artwork over there than that. I'm kind of a middle to low middle price over there. But I don't want to get it so far different between Atlanta and Birmingham or Nashville. They gotta always be in a close range because people will not understand that. So.
Can we pass a couple of your paintings around?
I'm sorry?
Can we pass a couple of your paintings around?
Oh, sure, yeah. Be glad for you to. Okay, now see, standing back, I see this area right here is attracting too much attention. See? It's just, it's like a spotlight on that, and it makes no sense. I didn't see that until just now. And that's something you just have to stand back and see what your artwork looks like.
How do you varnish your paintings at the end?
Varnish?
Yeah, do you do protect it with your,
Yeah, I use a Kmart varnish.
a what?
Kmart, K-A-M-A-R. It's a Cryline product. It's a spray-on.
Right.
It comes in matte or gloss.
What do you prefer, matte or gloss or?
I like the gloss.
Really?
Yep. If you spray on the gloss onto a canvas, it's still not shiny. It's still satin. It looks like satin. You spray on the gloss on a hard surface like this, it's going to be brighter and shinier. So sometimes I'll use a matte finish.
So you don't brush it off?
I don't brush it off. I ain't got time for that. I mean, nothing wrong with it, I just don't have time for it.
Okay, we're gonna take a few minutes to do the door prizes. So if you signed in, you just listen for your, I'm gonna call out your name, and, I'm gonna do our old random number generator here. Beth Bates. Beth Bates. Christy Bunn.
No way.
Charlotte McDavid. And tomorrow's her birthday, y'all wish her a happy birthday. Charlotte. Wow, that looks great. Robert Weathers.
What did I do?
Get a door prize.
It does. What do you have, Oh, big time.
Is it still talking to you? Is it still talking to you?
That's fair.
I think he's getting tired. He's not
I think you're right.
Are they all film artists too?
Do you have a certain like point or interest where you want guy to go or?
Well, and yeah, that's a good question.
Did y'all hear the question? Okay, she asked, does he have a certain point of reference where he wants the viewer's eye to go?
Yeah, Well, where does your eye go in this painting?
Mine goes to the green pasture right behind the trees.
And Proctor.
Oh, okay, I'll be there in a minute.
Well, you know, this really draws my attention right
in there,
here.
that's where I go.
But the reason that draws my attention is because these values here kind of bring your eye over into it. So, it's not a strong focal point in this case, it's kind of an overall scene. But I think this area right here is the focal point to me. And this sketch right here doesn't really show that. That's why I like to use this as a blueprint to paint from, to get your juices going. It's not like you just got, artist block and don't know what you're gonna do. Get something on paper that gives you a starting point. Then, once you get into it, so this doesn't really look exactly like this, but it was a good starting point.
Shows the diagonals, the strong diagonals in there.
Yeah, this has more diagonals than that. This right here is a little bit, so if you've got straight lines like this, you want to mess them up so that it's not just so static. That's why I want you to come up here and walk around and look at this. You'll see a lot more.
Yeah, come up if you want to.
You'll see a lot more verticality to it than you do from a distance. And I might even, add even more vertical, because I've got horizontal strokes here and here and here and here. It's probably too many. So I might, put some vertical strokes in there to,
Lisa Pruitt?
so it's not just all 100% horizontal.
Oh, it's completely different up close.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah. It's a good thing you said that.